What's up, people? We are back with more of Katawa Shoujo. In the previous video, Hisao mentioned that he was actually going to write a letter back to Iwanako, which is what he's on the moment of doing, I believe. So, I don't know, I found this really peculiar and strange because in all the other three routes that we've played so far, he never really had the urge, or maybe I think in one route he might have thought about perhaps writing back to her, but ultimately never did, right? Whereas right now, he actually is planning and actually writing a letter back to Iwanako. So, I find this a little bit strange, but it might be because of the fact that we're in Act 4 right now, and in compared to all the other three routes, he was actually romantically involved with either one of those characters that the route he was in, right? Whereas now with Hanako, it's not that way yet. I don't know if it still might happen, but it's not that way. He's not romantically involved with Hanako, right? Therefore, he might feel that he hasn't really moved on that much from his letter, but we don't know his reasons for writing the letter, right? We don't know exactly why he's writing the letter yet, and what he's going to be writing in the letter, so I guess we'll just find out. But I just kind of want to find this really strange that he just felt the urge to do this, but we'll find out why. Iwanako's letter lies on my desk beside a blank sheet of lined paper and an unused envelope. The tapping of my pen is the only thing to be heard this late at night. As I feared, my second task for the day turns out to be just as difficult as the first, if not harder. It's been so many months since we even saw each other. Even so, I can still remember what she looked like, and what she sounded like, and what she acted like. By now, though, the little details are beginning to slip away. The way he's talking about her is like he's still kind of in love with her. But I never really got that sense at all throughout this route. But I guess once again, it's like, once you've been quote-unquote in a relationship with someone, you only really tend to forget about them after, how they always say, you need to have sort of a hookup after just to break the ice or something. Well, there's a particular word for it. What the fuck is it? Rebound relationship, that's what it's called. Those are usually just to sort of forget about your past relationship, right, and to try and move on from it. I don't know, that's strange that he's still kind of talking about her in that way. When I first saw her letter, I barely recognized her handwriting at all. Even a pink pen she always used was forgotten until her writing reminded me of it. I wonder why she didn't use it for the letter. She used to write everything with it. Maybe she thinks it's too immature now. I should be thinking about myself and about what I want to communicate to her. My mind can't stop concentrating on her though, on the past we shared before it was taken away so suddenly. The bright and slightly garish decorations suit her sense of aesthetics. Picking up the letter to take a closer look at it, I give a long sigh. The thing that I really struggle with, right, and why I didn't really take this relationship between Hisao and Iwanako that seriously, because that whole scene in the very beginning of the game is just the only thing that we see ever between Iwanako and Hisao is just that moment in the snow where she confesses, We don't know any of the backstory, how close they were as friends before the confession and stuff like that. So that's why I really didn't take that too seriously, at least, Whereas the way that he's talking about it now, it's just it was his not long lost, but they were deeply in love and they were actually together for so long or something, Whereas I feel like I didn't really get that deep connection between them, but that's actually partly and probably actually due to the lack of sort of backstory between these two characters of Hisao and Iwanako. We know that she's there, we know that she likes him, but we know nothing else besides that, right? This is the last link binding me to my past. Iwanako didn't suddenly cease to exist whenever she left my hospital room for the last time, but I needed this letter to remind me of that. I had all those feelings neatly filed away. I felt as if I didn't need them, that I could just begin life completely anew. It was easier that way. In the end, I suppose that was a rather naive thing to think. Sooner or later, my past would have caught up with me one way or the other. What am I supposed to say to her? Thank you for bringing me closure? All the letter did was end the sense of closure I'd previously felt. Try as I might, I can't write so much as a single word down on the paper in front of me. I can't even think of what exactly I want to say. Putting the letter down on top of the blank sheet, I gathered the materials together and filed them away in my drawer. Thankfully, he doesn't write the letter. I mean, just the fact that I feel like that the fact that he can't even think of anything to write, right? It already sort of should mean enough to him, right? That there's actually nothing for him to say to her anymore. Therefore, I guess. But I guess it's because, once again, back to that thing, like, he was romantically involved in with all the other characters, like Lily, Rin, and Emmy at that point, right? Whereas in this point, he still hasn't gotten that with Hanako. Therefore, he doesn't have as bright of a future and as many things to look forward to, Because at least when those are sort of the two main issues in every single route, I feel, right? It's always being addressed. Like, Hisao's personal future, like what he wants to do after his school finishes, so his academic purposes, his academic pursuits, and stuff, his interests, and his love interest, the person that he's currently dating at that moment. Those are sort of always the two things that is thought about at the end of the game, at the end of every single route. And here, because he's not sure about what he wants to do with his career yet, or after school, and he's not dating Hanako yet, like, those are two things that are generally, like, make him look forward and push him forward and not think about the past anymore. But because he doesn't have those two things in this route yet, he's sort of being pulled back to the past because of that letter a little bit. But now that he's, like, trying to actually address his past, I feel like he has now realized that, wait, I'm actually completely done with this now. But then once again, he doesn't really have something to look forward to in his future yet. Yet, I'm gonna still say, because I have hope. I have hope. We're hopefully not in a bad ending, right? I have hope. The clunk the desk makes as it closes makes me momentarily tense in frustration before I get up to go grab a drink from the vending machine on the first floor. I tried, but I couldn't do it. After all the time that has passed, I still don't know how to deal with Iwanako. The library, while not humming with activity, is noticeably more busy than usual. Exams are not far away, and that's reflected in the number of students burying their noses in textbooks at the table around us. I've been studying quite a lot in the past few days, and just like them, in hope of doing well in the exams, this also means that Hanako and I have been playing games less, so she's begun studying as well just to fill in the time. Nevertheless, I found myself forsaken by her on this particular day. The textbook in front of me has remained on the same page for some time. After so much reading on subjects I couldn't care less about if not for the exams, my mind is beginning to wander. I find my eyes flickering over to where Hanako would usually be, just like on the days she wasn't in class. Her usual beanbag in the corner of the room is conspicuously unoccupied. It was here that we first really met. I tried to start a conversation with her. She got skittish and eventually bolted from the room altogether. I probably shouldn't smile about it, but it was kind of amusing in hindsight. Nowadays, it's more and more difficult to imagine her doing such a thing. Even with Lily gone, she's been doing well now that she's come out of her room. I want to talk with her, or at least play another game of chess. I'm tired of studying, and it's been a few days since we've really done anything together. The question of where to find Hanako isn't a particularly difficult one. If she's not in the library, chances are that she's either in the tea room for some peace and quiet, or in her dormitory room. Deciding to check them in that order, I pack up my books and make my way out of the library. I stretch and give a loud groan as I walk down the hallway. Studying may be frustrating at times, but with the progress I feel that I've made, there's also some sense of pride in getting it done. It's a good feeling. There isn't a sound to be heard from inside as I stand in front of the door to Hanako's room. I guess that isn't very indicative of whether she's inside or not, given how quiet she usually is. Still, she wasn't in the tea room. I try knocking lightly to make my presence known, but I'm surprised when I find the door unlocked and yielding at my touch. Hanako! Hello. With a small creak, the door opens. It looks like my suspicions were correct. Hanako is indeed here. She's sitting at the table with an open book in front of her, but pays it no heed as she keeps looking out the window. She looks utterly oblivious to my presence. With her head thoughtfully resting on her hand, she looks calm and collected. It's a shame she can't look like this more often. Like, this is like viewing it at Hanako from the outside, where she's just totally at peace, no worries about other people, how they perceive her, how they look at her, how they think about her, you know? Just her on her own, and without any worries of the outside world, basically, you know? Smiling a little, I walk up to the table and softly speak to her. Good evening, Hanako. Hanako's head turns a little to see me, but she's still only half there. I put a hand on the table and lower my head to better look at her face, mildly curious about what mood she's in. What's up? She gasps a little, finally acknowledging my presence in the room for the first time. Hanako's blushing really heavily. Her mouth is open just a little, as if paused mid-sentence. Most striking, though, is what she's doing. She's looking directly at me. Her eyes are pinned on my own, from such a close distance that I can almost see my reflection in them. They don't turn away, nor move at all. They're just completely still, just looking into mine. Oh my god, She just put a spell on me with her eyes. Hanako. Unless she's like frozen, but I doubt that's the case. Please no. They're dark, and they give her an almost analytical air. Even when reading on subjects she has no interest in, she would appear to be wrapped in her work to a casual observer. She absorbs information very well, and even now, I can feel that. I feel like I'm seeing something behind those eyes that I've never saw before. I don't know what it is, though. Hanako? Her lips move just a little, silently mouthing something. She looks like she's on the verge of saying something, but won't say it. But that's the way Hanako always is, on the verge of saying something, but never quite doing it. As I look intently into her eyes, I realize something. Everyone has their own thoughts, things they want to say, their own worldview. But I can't work out what Hanako wants to say, and I can't work out what she's thinking. I have never been able to. It's frustrating. It feels like I don't know her at all, despite all the time we've spent together. Hisao. It's only now that I find myself blushing. I've been looking directly into Hanako's eyes from such a short distance, with absolutely no regard for her, and she's been looking into mine without shirking away. I quickly look away while covering my face with my hand. Hanako does just the same. Another awkward silence reigns. I hate these. At first I accepted them as just being a fact of life around Hanako, but now they feel like an affirmation of how little we're able to communicate. Some anger makes its way in the complex mixture of emotions I'm experiencing right now. I want to bridge that gap between us. Friends shouldn't have to tiptoe around each other like this. I speak before I can argue myself out of what I'm going to do. My scarring isn't as bad as Hanako's, and I can't possibly compare my life to hers, but I want to show her that she's not alone. Doing this in such a blunt manner might be the only way to get my point across. Hanako, I want to show you something. Is he going to show his scar? What? I take a deep breath to prepare myself. This could backfire badly, but I feel as if we've come close enough for this to be okay. I'm not going to strip naked or anything weird. I'm just going to take my shirt off. That's half stripping naked, right? Hanako's eyes grow to the size of saucers. Her face is an amusing mixture of curiosity and nervousness as she stands. It helps take the edge off my own nervousness at doing this in front of another person. Slowly, my entire body feeling tense, I unknot my tie and begin to loose the first of the buttons. I'm trying to mentally block out Hanako to make this easier, but it's not really working. As I work my way down, I expect to hear some form of protest from her. She remains silent though, which just makes me feel even stranger. She's like, "Oh yes, Hisao, take your clothes off for me." With the last of my shirt unbuttoned, I take a breath and look at her. What? Hanako's gaze is fixed on my scarring, as expected, and once I nod to say it's okay, she steps forward and tentatively places her hand on the vertical line running down my chest. The scarring on her hand, a pattern of damaged skin across its surface, contrasts with her single uniform line that makes up mine. Her hand isn't trembling at all, unlike what I predicted. This is... The scar from the surgery had followed my heart attack. The surgeons had to cut open my chest to operate on my heart. I never knew. Hanako's words are calmer and softer than usual. The soft feeling of her fingers moving from my scar to my breast makes me hesitate a little before continuing on. The man breast, the man boob. You're the first person to see this since I left the hospital. But why are you showing this to me? I wanted to prove myself that I could do this, that I could accept my past and move on. I wanted to show that to you as well. She nods. From her reaction, she seems to know how difficult this is for me. More than anything, this scar represents a visible reminder of my condition, a reminder that I'm not normal anymore. I mean, that's the thing, right? What did he mention here exactly? Here, that I could accept my past and move on. I feel like that's something that Hanako, up until this day, has still struggled to do, right? Therefore, Hisao sort of showing this to her is like, I can do this, and it's also almost like a message to her, like, I can do this, do you want to do it with me? We can just, we can move on from our past together. Our past shouldn't haunt us forever, and it shouldn't dictate how we become in the future, or what we're going to do in the future of the parts that we can control, Obviously, there are some parts they don't have any control over, but the parts that they do have control over, they should seize themselves and do something with it themselves, rather than having those things control those things for them, because that's not what you want, right? That's sort of what Hanako has been doing up until now, and it hasn't really worked that well for her, right? She nods. From her reaction, she seems to know how oh wait, we already did this. That's something that, until now, I had tried my hardest to ignore. As the minutes tick by, Hanako's gaze lingers. Her eyes look less focused on my scarring than before. The situation feels a bit different than it previously did. It makes me slightly uncomfortable. Her hand retreats, and I draw my shirt closed and begin to button it up. Her blushing face suddenly returns to its typical tense and timid state as she looks away. The room is completely silent as I fix my shirt and tie, feeling put off after such an unexpectedly intimate moment. So, I guess you're not the only one that's scarred. Hanako smiles a little at the joke, thankfully lightening the atmosphere a bit. Thank you, Hisao? I think I understand. I give a long sigh of relief. I really didn't know how she'd take it, but I'm glad everything seems to have worked out as I hoped. Hanako's smile only proves that further. That's true, it could have worked out horribly, like, Hisao, what are you doing? Ah, why are you getting naked? I'm finding the path I want to follow now, and what Hanako needs to do to find her own. It's something I can't help her with, and it's something that she needs to overcome her past in order to do. Hanako checks her watch. It's getting late by now. Hisao, yeah, I'd better be going. I'll be thankful for some sleep. It's been a long day after all. Good night, Hanako. Good night. I make my way out of her room and into the hallway, remaining silent as I do so. I think both of us have gone through a few emotions today. Wow, that was indeed a rather, intimate moment. It's just one of those moments where it feels like, actions speak louder than words. It definitely felt like that. Alright, we're in the city, it's city time. The heat of the summertime sun beats down on my sweating brow. Dabbing with a handkerchief doesn't help too much in making me any more comfortable. Giving up on the idea of getting more done today, I stop and lean against one of the overpass fences, resting my bag on the ground. The stores in the town below Yamaku are well stocked and offer enough variety that for me to get by, but at least on an occasional shopping trip to the city is something that can't really be avoided. I've been here a few times now. The city's layout is getting more familiar, and the nostalgia from its atmosphere is beginning to wear off. I realize that I've begun to wheeze. I sound like an old man that's overexerted himself, and having to connect to to the fact that I'm the source is a bit disturbing. I put a hand on my chest and concentrate for a bit to make sure I haven't gone far enough to cause any further problems. Thankfully, my heart is acting normally. There's no dull pain, and the beating is regular, albeit fast-paced, as I recover from overdoing things in this kind of heat. I hate my body. It's frustrating to be held back, even more to be held back by fear of my life being ended, when doing something as simple as walking around the city for a while. As I ponder on my health, I can feel my pocket vibrating. By the time my phone's begun to ring, my hand is already fishing for it. A glance at the screen shows a number or caller number I don't recognize. Strange. Shrugging, I press the button to answer the call and bring the phone to my ear. Hello, is Hisao Nakai speaking? Who is that? The sound of a couple of short breaths can be heard, but no actual speech is forthcoming. Hello? Hisao? Hanako? How did you get our number, girl? It's Hanako. Her voice is really easy to place, even if I've never heard it over the phone before. Hanako? I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting you to call. What's up? If you're not busy, I was wondering if you would... I like to... meet up? Yes, She sounds really wound up about this. I can hear muffled voices in the background, and it's about time for afternoon tea, so I guess she'll want me to meet her at the Shanghai or something. That sounds fine. Are you at the Shanghai? I'm in the city. What? She's in the city alone? Was she following us see Hisao running off," and then she like quickly tries to follow us after into the city, but she's just slower than us. Therefore, the distance keeps getting bigger and bigger. And then before she realizes, like, wait, he's gonna get out of my sight, and then she calls us. That would be so funny. A little bit stalkerish, but cute as well. It's alright if a cute girl is stalking you. It's not that bad, you know. Hanako's here? Alone? That's a surprise. It's little wonder she's like this, if she's surrounded by people and entirely by herself. That works out well. I'm just wandering around there now, too. Where are you? Hanako manages to stammer out the street name, address, and some basic directions to where she is. Luckily, it's not too far, so I agree to see her soon before hanging up. I look up to the sky. The summer heat is beating down. This is the first time Hanako asked us to do something together beyond a simple board game, and the first time, at least since I've known her, that she's come to the city by herself. Maybe this means that Lily was right. Oh yeah, it sure seems like it. By the time I manage to stagger up to the cafe where Hanako is, I've started to wheeze again. I'm sweating so much that I feel like a melting popsicle and can barely hold the bag in my hand. I need to sit down, badly. The tables outside are all occupied by busily chatting couples and girls gossiping between themselves. The contrast between the different age groups and fashions of people here and the people from the town near Yamaku is striking. I scan over the people sitting at the tables, but I can't see Hanako. She did say she was sitting outside, so I must just be missing her. Not difficult, given how small she usually tries to make her presence. I look around again, more slowly this time, taking particular care to see if I can find Hanako's hat. It's pretty distinctive, and I'd be very surprised if she wasn't wearing it. There she is. Sure enough, her head is kept low, and the table she's sitting at is right beside the building in an inconspicuous corner. I walk up to where she is and make sure that I have her attention before I sit, lest I give her a scare. She notices me and gives a small wave as I arrive at her table. Are you feeling okay? I try my best to laugh it off, but doing so just makes me more out of breath. Not very fit these days. Don't mind me. Hanako nods, but still looks a bit put off. Now that I can get a good look at her face, something about her seems a bit different. I'm not sure if my eyes are playing tricks on me, but she looks kind of nice. Her eyes move upward to look at me, before quickly flicking down again. I begin to think this is going to be a rather quiet meeting, but a waitress thankfully arrives and sets down a cup of tea in front of Hanako. Hanako almost automatically turns slightly away and lowers the side of her head. It's an amazingly practiced motion and does a good job of its intended purpose, hiding her scarf from someone who's leaning in close. Her right arm is still laying on the table though, with the scarring on the back of her hand quite visible. It catches the waitress's eye, and I move to quickly distract her. Excuse me, may I place an order? Smooth, Hisao. The waitress nods and gives me a couple of seconds to look at the menu. Could I have a mango smoothie, please? She gives a nod before almost enthusiastically bouncing inside. Everything is so different in the city, in more ways than one. Hanako looks back up towards me and adjusts her hat a little. If she noticed the waitress staring at her scars, she doesn't show it. Not coffee? I think I'd die from this heat if I had something like coffee right now. Resting my head in my hand, I look to my quiet companion. She seems taken aback, a very unexpected reaction to my lame joke. An unwelcome emotion bubbles up inside me as I realize her reason why. Unlike most in Yamaku, indeed, Unlike anyone there that I'm aware of, my condition goes beyond limiting the activities I can do. Or to be more precise, reaching those limits could have much more grave consequences. Thankfully, it's something that's very rarely come up since I entered Yamaku. I thought that it was so rare that Hanako and Lily might not think of it at all. It turns out that I was wrong. That's true, Hisao's disability is something that doesn't really stop him from doing most things, but it does stop him from doing certain things, mainly overexerting himself. And when he does do that, the consequences of it and on his health can be so bad that he could actually die from it, right? Whereas, for example, the fact that Lily is blind, her blindness is just yeah, it's something that's very hindering, but it's you always expect what that disability does for her, right? You always just know, okay, she can't see, so she just has to adjust her entire life around it, around being blind, and live her life that way. Whereas if something goes wrong with her blindness, not much can go wrong, right? She only she can't get more blind. So that's kind of the strange thing about certain disabilities, that even though people that don't seem like they have bad disabilities, those things could actually end up being the more scary ones if something bad happens, of course, or if the case worsens. But yeah, if it doesn't worsen, then it's just Hisao is kind of like a normal person, but at the same time, not really. Hanako silently drinks her tea while I wait for my drink, confirming that it's the right temperature with a small sip before she begins in earnest. I feel guilty for being the cause of an uncomfortable silence, since in the past, I've been kind of hard on Hanako for those. Eventually, the same waitress as before bounces up, handing me my drink. I gather change from my pocket and drop it into her waiting hand before she goes off to attend another customer. My eyes linger on her as she walks away. Do you think that she looks pretty? Hanako is following my gaze, her eyes taking in the waitress that served us. I can feel my blood slowly going to my cheeks as I rest my smoothie back on the table. Nah, I can't really say that I'm into that look. She just looked a lot like an old friend I knew before my heart attack. Smooth, Hisao. Yeah, dodged that bullet. Did you have many friends? I had a few at my previous school, though I wouldn't say a lot. The four of us just hang around together after school and stuff. Do you still talk to them? I shake my head. No, we gradually lost contact while I was stuck in the hospital. You're not saddened by that? Or angry? Hanako looks genuinely surprised. I guess it's the right reaction. Well, life did move on for them while I was stuck in the ward. I was pretty sure about it at the time, but now it's just a bunch of nice memories. Besides, once I came to Yamaku, I found new friends as well. Yeah, Hanako and Lily, my new friends. That's quite a whitewash of what my feelings were back then. I went through some dark times during my stay at the hospital, and I really am glad that Hanako and Lily were around to help me after I left it. Hanako blushes as we both get down to enjoying our drinks. She seems to have calmed down a bit since I arrived, and I've started to feel a little better now, now that I've had the chance to rest a bit, so this is getting to be a nice outing already. Even if she's calmer than before though, she's still fidgeting a bit. She runs her hand down one of her bangs as I try to think of something to say. That's right. I was going to ask. Hanako tilts her head quizzically. I didn't know you had a mobile phone. How'd you get my number? Lily gave it to me. I should have guessed, of course. You could have just asked. I'd have given it to you. Want to exchange email addresses? Oh yeah, then we can email each other after school. Hanako nods, setting down her drink and fishing out her phone from her pocket as I do the same. Oh, she got one of those flip phones! Hell yeah, those were awesome back in the day. It's surprisingly the same model as mine. Pink though, thank God. What if Hisao had a pink phone? Nice phone. She looks to me with a curious expression before noticing my phone and giggling. It's one of the very few times I've seen Hanako let her guard down enough to do such a thing. I didn't pick it out myself though. Oh? It was a present from Lily. I never really needed a phone, and I couldn't afford one. She bought me one for Christmas though, saying that we could use it to keep in touch. They see each other basically every day anyway, both in and out of school. Then again, Lily does have her class representative duties and other friends that she talks with. It'd probably help her situations like for situations like this too, when she's gone away for a little while. Lily's a very special person to you, isn't she? She is. I love her very much. Hanako looks down and smiles as she thinks of her. None of my friendships were as deep as theirs, and I have to admit to myself that I'm a little jealous of their friendship or relationship. We tell each other our email addresses and thumb them into our respective phones. And I get Hanako's number from earlier and put it into my contact list. Alright, we got Hanako's email address, time to send her some memes and cat pictures and stuff. Done. That makes 3 now. Oh yes, she's collecting them digits, the phone number, she's got 3 of them. 3? Lily, Akira, and you. Ah, Akira. She's an interesting person, isn't she? She is. She's also really nice though. Her suit makes her look a bit cool. I'm a little surprised you know each other well, what with her job taking up so much of her time. Hanako looks down a little and takes another sip of her drink. If I wasn't looking intently at her face, I'd miss the small smile perched on it. I guess when she knows so few people, those she knows must mean a lot to her. How many do you have? Me? About 9 or 10? I hesitate to go into them for fear of rubbing in the fact that Hanako doesn't have parents. Oh yeah. Or apparently even close relatives. 2 of those are Shizune and Misha too, which is another can of worms. Yeah, let's not open that. I imagine that Lily would have more than both of us put together probably. Hanako gives a childish giggle, and I can't help smiling. It's a good feeling that she's gotten this comfortable around me. At times like this, I feel like I'm getting close to talking to her true self. Do you mind if I ask something that I've been wondering? Hanako shakes her head as she takes a last sip of her tea, finishing it off. You don't seem very jealous of Lily having lots of friends. Don't you want to make some friends of yourself? Or get to know some of hers? I'm not jealous. I don't like people. I don't like people. Fuck people. So I don't mind not having many friends. That's really not the answer that I was expecting. She doesn't look fearful or sad as she says this, but rather quite serious. Hanako rubs her arm awkwardly, having taken the quietness as a reason to continue. I'm not really sure what I should say, so I end up simply giving her my attention in silence. In middle school, I got bullied. A lot. Oh no. People, why? Ah, fucking hell. This really actually makes me angry. I was called names and got excluded from work group and sports teams. There were worse things too, like Why do you bully someone that has something for, for something that she can't even do anything about herself? Come on, I know kids are stupid, right? I was a stupid kid, but it's just so sucky when you think about it. Like, those bullies at that time, like, no, they think it's funny. And, I mean, that's the thing about kids, right? Kids don't really think about the repercussions that can have on a person. But for Hanako, the damages that the fact that those kids are bullying her and what they're saying and what they're doing to her, that can have that can just impact her for the rest of her freaking life. And that's just the sad thing of it, right? That something like that probably doesn't mean anything at all to that bully, but then for Hanako, the victim, like, it just scars her for the rest of her life. No pun intended there. Wow, I shouldn't have said that. But yeah. That's why it's just like, I just freaking hate bullying, man. There's no reason to do so, ever. Even if someone is bullying and you bully the bully, it's just like, yeah, well, I mean, I guess that guy a person gets the taste of their own medicine, but still, I wouldn't say just like, bully the bully back, but whatever. It's happened. Poor Hanako. And that's what made you not like other people? She shakes her head. I mean, see, this is what I mean. Like, all those bullies probably partly shaped her to be this way as well, right? To be very fearful of other people, not shying away from coming into contact with other people that she doesn't know, just because she thinks like, if those people get to know me or something, or if people see me or stuff like that they're gonna end up bullying her as well, and that's just so painful. That was elementary school. I feel bad for bringing this up now. Adults have enough problems dealing with Hanako's scarring. Children would be all the worse. I had assumed that the way she tried to make her presence not felt was just to avoid people staring at her, or because she was afraid of them. Certainly not because she genuinely didn't want to interact with them in the first place as well. I noticed the condensation from my neglected smoothie forming a little puddle around the bottom of the cup, so I take the opportunity to finish it off. And as I drink, she begins to fiddle with her phone. It looks like she's remembered the people around her again, and begun to tense up. Oh no. Come on, Hisao, take back control of the situation, make her forget about the people around. It isn't exactly a cheap phone. I had to save up quite a while to afford one when I got mine. If Lily went to private school, she probably wouldn't have too much trouble getting one for a present though. Oh no, you saw how she brought out all those 5,000 yen bills, when she had to cough it up for the doll that she bought for Hanako. So it's like 20,000 yen? Pfft, that's no big deal. Here, take 4 notes of 5,000 yen, old man. Watching her fiddle with it gives me an idea. Hey, Hanako, wait for me. I'll be right back. Okay, this better be the best idea in the world if he's planning on, leaving her alone right now. I put the now empty cup down, slip my phone into my pocket, and begin to move off, carefully stepping around the bag I placed beside my feet. Thankfully, sitting around while talking to Hanako has helped me feel a lot better than before. Wait, what? Where are you going? Just stay here. I'll be back in a bit. What are we doing? What? As much as I'd like to have jogged back, I know full well that I couldn't. I end up walking back to the cafe, a little blue bag in my right hand. Hanako notices me quickly, looking about as confused as she did when I left. I deposit the diminutive bag in front of her and sit back down. Is this... It's for you. You can open it. But... Go on. She looks very unsure about it, but eventually gives in, slowly opens the bag, and picks its contents out. Oh, a keychain or phone chain strap thingy. A silver chain phone strap dangles from her fingers, ending in a delicate flower. It isn't exactly a masterwork of jewelry, but it's about as much as I could afford. It's the thought that counts. Hanako's eyes light up when she looks at it. It's the kind of reaction I was hoping for. The summer sunlight glints off the silver as it twists to and fro a little. It's not too ostentatious, but still looks a little charming. I think it suits her well. Hanako lowers the phone strap to the table and looks to me once more. But it's not Christmas or my birthday. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I just thought it might be nice to have something to decorate your phone with. Exactly, you don't always, I mean, you know, it's always customary to get presents on special occasions like that, but even on normal days, when you have people around you that care you, they sometimes will give you something even when you don't expect it to, you know? Just like, what, is not my birthday? Well, you still get a gift. I don't have anything to give to you. I told you, it's fine. Friends can give each other things, or can give things to each other like this sometimes, right? Friends. Hanako lowers her face so much that I can't see her expression. She eventually nods before taking her phone and fiddling with the strap to attach it properly. Oh yeah, look at that swag phone. She looks to me and smiles as she holds up her phone, now adorned with a little flower. Thank you, Hisao. Her smile proves infectious. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice a couple getting up and leaving. That reminds me that the bus back to the town below Yamaku will be coming soon. I guess I'd better be going if I want to catch the next bus back to town. You coming as well? Yes. She hastily nods before carefully putting her phone back into her pocket and getting out of her chair. I do the same and pick up the bag I'd left beside me on the way out. We walk side by side as we make our way to the bus station, exchanging no words between us. Hanako's gaze is firmly locked ahead of her, though she looks very happy with herself. She just looks so shy and I love that expression on her, you know? She looks very shy, but you can see that she has that like smile on her face too. This is very cute on her. I'm not sure what I should say to her, but I'm also not sure that I need to say anything. The fact that Hanako is happy, and happy because of me, is enough to make the load on my arm feel light as a feather. That was awesome. Hanako and Hisao are getting closer. Hell freaking yes. Alright, well that is going to be the end of this video. Holy crap, that was actually a really good one, you know? Like the fact that they were actually bonding now, that they're hanging out together as friends, having fun, even if it's, you know, you can sort of feel like, yeah, it's very different, but that's just how it is with Hanako, right? As a person that sort of, well, she said herself, doesn't like people, it takes a while to actually get close to a person like that, you know? So I don't blame at all that up until Act 4, and we're still only at this point, right? I actually really understand it, but it's just, you know, when in comparison to the other routes, you tend to notice these things, but that's what makes it stand out as well, right? And that's what makes it fitting to Hanako and the Hanako route specifically as well. But yeah, we're making good progress here, and especially that scene from earlier with like the scar, that was just kind of very beautiful in my opinion, where just like you saw Hanako as well reaching with her, like she could have touched Hisao's scar with, like, you know, her non-scarred hand, but no, she actually did it with her scarred hand, which makes it seem like it just sort of, I don't know, this moment of connection between the two, like they sort of understood that they are kind of similar in that regard, you know, that they're not alone. That was really beautiful. So anyway, I'm gonna end this video here. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you all in the next video of the Hanako route. Peace.